I was tempted to pray that you can have the gift of tongues this morning to understand what I'm going to say, but please bear with me. I was saying that I was smiling when I received the assignment of this topic, and I don't know if it was some kind of joke from Gary when he was inspired to do the distribution of the topic, because for any of us, improving in our relationships is a challenge. And it's clear to us that there are different ways to approach this dynamic of improving our relationships. There are different viewpoints and opinions, different tips and strategies. And then we have a question. Why don't we, I'm sorry, not this one. Why don't we grow or improve in our relationships in the course of our lives? Why? Probably everyone in the family or in your couple, in your marriage, are asking the same question. What happened that we are stuck in certain situation in a marriage? Is it because we do not see the reality we're supposed to see it? Or probably we are living in denial of our need, our real need, or our spouse's need? Is it because we don't get the urge, or we don't feel like it, or we can care less? Is it because we think our spouses are not giving their best? Then why I have to give my best? I don't have the energy to continue. Then I come up with this nice caricature. Apparently, I done something to upset you. Yeah. I hope that you don't have that experience in your home or in your bedroom. But sometimes it's like that, or sometimes it's like that. I don't know if you notice who is the one that is yelling. Is the female or it's the lion? I'm just kidding. We are in the corner. Probably it was a Photoshop, don't worry, it's not real. I would like to focus on two or three simple and basic aspects without going into a specific. That's not my field of expertise, but I'm going to share my experience, my personal experience. Each person and each relationship is different and need different tips and strategies to improve in our marriage. The need to improve and the practical way of improvement can be very different from time to time, from one couple to the other. And I would like to share my personal perspective this morning, and I hope that it could help as it's helping me right now. Monica and I were dating for 3 years and 3 months before we married. We used to call, I think that in English it's courtship. We call that noviazgo, novio. To a specific translation is, I didn't see. That's the translation of novio. When you introduce your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you say, this is why I didn't see. It's funny in Spanish. We were dating for 3 years and 3 months. It's enough time for a courtship, right? It's according to Ellen G. White and probably a little bit more. If you ask us today, we really cannot recall ever arguing or that we fought about anything. And she's here, and she can testify about that. However, after we got married, we argue and fought about anything and everything, as we had not done in our courtship. And we laugh now, but it was a shock. That first year was really difficult, sometimes terrible, and on top of it, we also were beginning our ministry. For me, the second year was a lot better. Monica says that for her it was the same or worse. But you know, husband got the tendency to be positive. Throughout our marriage, we had to rely on God. And we're thankful for that. And we relied in the wisdom and counsel of counselors and psychologists. But more importantly, we fought hard and worked together for 30 years. 30 years, 7 months, and 10 days. Just Jesse. Even though I may think that we are doing well or better, I know that we need improvement. She says that we still need much improvement. Let me give you an example of one of the latest arguments, the late edition of an argument between the 5,000 and 500 that we were. One of the arguments that we were having the last probably 5 or 6 or 7 years is because of my mustache. And I love my mustache. And she get in unity with my son and my daughter, and they are pushing and pushing. You had to shave your mustache. And they lie to me because they tell me that I'm going to look better. And I know that no matter what I do, I'm not going to look better. There is a saying in Argentina that we said, I hope that I can translate correctly, that the monkey, no matter if you dress it with steel, is still a monkey. And that's my situation. But that's an argument. And they are pushing and pushing, and I decided to take to make a review, a survey this morning. How many of you do you really think that I need to shave my mustache? Just raise your hand. I'm sorry, I forget to tell you that the only one allowed to vote are the ones that got mustaches. The rest don't count. I'm not trying to interrupt the... No. That's not going in Facebook. I'm trying not to mess with the pulpit. Look at this. Oh my. I hope that this can grow rapidly. The only problem that I got with my mustache is the white hair. Because the white hair don't grow like the regular hair in my mustache. The white hair grow like this. And then I probably... What I didn't tell you is the reason why I'm wearing a mustache. It's because she asked me to wear a mustache when we were we were dating. I didn't wear a mustache until I know her. But you know, from time to time, we need to change and adapt. And I hope that in a week or two, it's going to be like I would like to emphasize this morning these three aspects that it helps us to improve in a marriage: attitude, will, and energy. I was reading an article from the National Healthy Marriage Institute. They produce a nice online service that they call Healthy Marriage Tips, that you can subscribe by free and receive from them a lot of information to read with your spouses in your home. Some people say, this article asks why almost 50% of all marriages end in divorce. A better question to ask is, why doesn't all marriage end in divorce? And for all that matter, why does anyone get married in the first place? The answer is that marriage binds you together at a deeper level in a way that no other relationship can. It nurtured, that bond can grow stronger and more rewarding than any other relationship. The depth of the joy and happiness is far greater, more satisfying, and longer lasting than any other relationship. But this bond cannot be formed without time, effort, and commitment. It's a tapestry that can be brought pre-assembled, but instead must be woven thread by thread over many years. And I believe this. And in one of the other articles, they were saying that it's like when you are working with a fire. Sometimes you use some kind of accelerant or gasoline to begin a fire, but you need another element to switch to another element to keep that fire in place. And just like with the real fire, it's easier to keep your marital relationship alive by constantly feeding that relationship. It's easier than waiting until the fire is almost out to add more fuel. And that is one of the common mistakes of the pastoral families. We wait and wait because of this, because of that, because it's a problem, because our image as pastors, the situation with the conference, the situation in the church, what the brothers and sisters and the congregation is going to say, and we sometimes don't do too much to improve. And I would like to emphasize these three aspects because no matter how many tips or techniques and strategies we receive and trying to implement, if we don't have the right attitude and a strong will and an emotional energy and motivation, nothing is going to work. God has to be in the middle, and God is willing and able to work miracles through our attitude. But He would like to work through our attitude, through our will, and through our energy if we just allow Him to work. Let me share this known quote from Charles Swindoll that probably a lot of you already read. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than success, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing about this is that we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing that we can do is play on the one string that we have, and that is our attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% what happened to me and 90% how I reacted to it. Do you like that? He mentioned this in a radio program and some devotional program, and they put it together. And I really enjoyed the approach that he got to this situation. And we need that attitude. Every day, with our spouses, with our church members, with our church leaders, with our colleagues in the office environment. We need that. And I would like to meditate this morning just a little bit in a passage of the Bible that is really meaningful to me, and I'm going to tell you at the end, that applies excellently to our attitude in relationship and help us reinforce our will to grow and to improve. Do you remember this passage from Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 1 through 6? The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause you to hear my words. Then I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, making something at the wheel. And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again into another vessel, and it seemed good to the potter to make. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do with you as the potter, saith the Lord? Look at the clay in the potter's hands, so are you in my hands, O house of Israel. 5 fundamental blessings. Do you know that there are many figures and symbols in this passage that we can use for a long time for our personal devotion and for our churches? We got the potter's house, the potter, the wheel, the clay, the vessel, the assumption that we can be vessels of honor, of vessels of dishonor. Gary was showing to us yesterday a video clip that keep telling us God has a plan. And God has a design according to that plan. A design in you and in your spouse. All power originates with God. The shaping of the clay is essential in this figure. And divine patience is associated with divine power. And divine patience perseveres in the accomplishment of his design. And we need to believe in that. The first blessing, the blessing of his house, the blessing of his home. I would like to think that our home are his house. We used to say that our churches are his house, and our churches are his house, but our homes are his house too. That's the place where he performed his masterpieces. These are special places where he, the master potter, molds each piece to his image for his glory and for our happiness. And we need to begin each day, and we need to approach every crisis in our marriage, understanding that we, in our houses, could be those pieces of clay that God is working with. We are in his house. The second blessing, the blessing of the potter working. He is working, and he's still working. Amen? Amen. Amen. That's not an excuse. When you got a problem and you said to your God, don't worry, honey, God is still working. Be patient. He stayed at home and on the wheel. He's now working on us yet. He didn't take a break or go away on vacation. The blessing of his grace, his ability and his power, his amazing patience. When you see something discouraging, remember, he's still working. And we need to see ourselves understanding that he is working. And we need to see our spouses understanding that he's working. We need to see our kids understanding that he's working. It's not a finished work. He's still working in that. That attitude, it could help us a lot. The blessing of to be in his hands, that is amazing. The blessing in our life to be happy is not the absence of crisis. I used to think that the absence of crisis or fighting will help us to be happy. Although it may be a blessing to have a spouse with a gentle personality or a relationship without fighting, the true blessing is being in his hands. The assurance to be in his hands. The blessing of his support and strength in my weaknesses. The blessing of a patient experience when I may feel anxious. The blessing of his hands, those that were nailed to the cross, the hand of one who suffered more than you and I suffer. And let me tell you, I know there are different circumstances. And I'm not talking this morning about situations of abuse or unrespectful situation to the limit that need to be treated in a different way. But in the regular, common, day-to-day situation, we need to understand the blessing to be in his hands. For, and I like this a lot, the blessing of the hope of the new base. Don't doubt that. Don't lose your hope about that. The hope is another vessel made from the same clay. No a new spouse, no a new pastor, no a new worker, colleague, no a new administrator, but simply the same person transformed. And then comes a question, can anyone be spoiled in the hands of God the Father? And I don't want to enter or begin to enter in any theological discussion, but when we remember what happened in heaven, when we remember what happened in Eden, we begin to understand that it's possible. But the problem is not the Father. The problem is the clay. The problem is not the ability or the skill of the Father. The problem is the clay. There is no clay that the Father cannot employ. The first thing that we notice about the clay is that the clay got different qualities. Some of it is very pure and pliable. Some of it is too soft, fat, the potters call it. To be used in his present state, some clay is almost white and will make the finest porcelain. Other type of clay has such an excess of iron that it will make only color wear. Some clay is doubtful. Please don't make any assumption that the Spanish clay is the one in the middle. It's not white, it's not black, it's in the middle. I'm not talking about that. That doubtful kind of clay, it will form, but it will twist or crack in the oven or in the fire. The clay of the Father is human nature. Good, bad, and indifferent. Is there any of it so bad that it cannot be used? No, if it is clay. There is no clay that the Father cannot employ. He cannot use stone, and he cannot make a vase of water. There are some of us that are so hard that they seem to be stone. And there are others so flabby that it seems that they could never hold together on the revolving wheel. Still, they are men. Something can be done because there is hope of the new base. The testimony of the new vessel speaks and shows the supreme Father. And we need to work with that to help our message, our mission. The renewal is according to his will and purpose, not to my will and purpose. My futility and impotence turn into a new vessel, the expectation of a new life and the mission that God has for us. And then the blessing of his wisdom. He knows better. You think that? You believe in that? Why don't we practice that at home? He knows better. God does his work as he sees best. It's not my work. I'm not the Father. Monica is not the Father. He is the Father. And he knows better how to do and how he's supposed to do that. He sees fit and how he knows his best. Let's be careful not to tell the Lord what he has to do and how to do it, and make sure that we are obedient to his providence, wisdom, and direction. Every day, every morning, anytime that we are confronted with a struggle and with an argument or a fight in our marriage. He does the shaping as he knows how best to do it. Our challenge is to trust him and wait and rest in his hands. When we do that, the majority of our problem can have a solution. There's still going to be problems and arguments or fighting, but they are going to have a solution. As soon as the potter saw that the clay he was dealing with would not answer the purpose of he has in view, with a slight touch of his hand, he crushed it down into a shapeless heap of mud, began anew, and made it into another vessel. In other words, the potter's treatment of the clay depends upon his knowledge or discovery of his qualities, his capability, or his faultiness. Because he knows, every one of us, a lot better. He knows better how to work with our clay. He takes the most shattered life that somebody can think of, and he can hold that life up in a moral beauty and perfectness, and he does that every day. And we had to begin that day with the attitude, the will, and the energy, understanding what can he do. What are you willing to do there? Let's talk a little bit about definition of improvement. To make something better, to increase the value of productivity of something, to become better, intransitive. I like the last one, the progress toward what is better. That has to be our goal, a continuing progress to be better in our marital life, as a couple, as a pastoral couple. We must have the right attitude, the will, and the energy to do all that we can to make all the changes that are needed to improve things. Don't stay the same way. Don't get stuck in the same situation over and over and over. As an example, I would like to make a parallel between the improvement of a house that we used to call home improvements, but we are going to call the improvement of a house and the improvement of a home in our life. There are typically 10 areas where families used to do some kind of improvement: remodeling, decorating, painting, walls and windows, floors and foundation, electrical, plumbing, bathrooms, kitchen, outdoors. Let me make some parallel, and you can do that with a lot of imagination and creativity in your home, because we had to make a plan. We in agreement with that? We had to make a plan to improvement. If we are contemplating remodeling and decorating, I suggest that you call in the professionals. Because you can mess up with that from the beginning. And we sometimes need to call in the professional to help us to do a complete remodeling or complete change. If you are planning to do some painting, the color, the perception, the image of your spouse, your home, your kids is important to improve all. You can make some plans to do that, and you had to make plans to do that. If you are talking about walls and windows, sometimes we need to improve in our privacy and in our vision. From our windows, what are we seeing? We see something out of our windows. We see what is happening out there in our members' homes, in our neighborhoods' homes, in our churches. If we are talking about floors and foundation and floors, we know that we had to rely in Christ as the only foundation, our rock, and our principles, our values that we sometimes don't talk about a lot in our homes from time to time. If we are talking about electrical, I would like to think about that as the mental health. And some of our wiring is really wrong. Sometimes we need to call in a professional to help us to fix that, but we can take time together to make a plan to correct some of our mistakes in that area. If we are talking about plumbing and bathrooms, I got problem with that. But I come up with the idea that we need to do some cleaning and discarding. And you know that, and I know that. Probably your spouse knows more about you and you know more about your spouse of what we need to clean and what we need to discard, but we had to do it. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes we don't like to do that, but it's a need. If we are talking about the kitchen, for sure we can put that the physical health, our diet, what we do to improve our relationship through our physical health. Outdoors, then, it has to be the need to socialize our mission. We know, and this is a fact, that pastoral couples are experiencing a lot of situations that we feel alone. Sometimes one of the spouses feel alone. We get the tendency not to be involved with the comments of the congregation, to step aside and don't have too many friends. And even between pastors, we don't have too many friends. Out of the circle of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we don't have friends. And we need to socialize to help our mission and to help the improvement of our relationships. Some of the problems of our relation is because we are too involved in ourselves and not seeing outside what it has to happen. To at least contemplate the idea of making improvement, we need to start from the base of 4 basic aspects, says the specialist in this area, talking about the improvement of a house, but he's saying about the improvement of a home. To 1, planning, budget, and schedule. To 1, because there is a need to improve. We're in agreement with that? There is a need to improve. Sometimes it cannot be just a desire, or maybe because we feel like improving. If it's different that in the house that sometimes an improvement in remodeling, it could be done without a specific need. But in our homes, in our situation, it's a specific need. We need to improve. We have to want to improve every day. And I challenge you to make an evaluation of your past improvement in your marriage. I got 30 years, 7 months, and 10 days to evaluate. Probably most of you got less than that, and some of you got more than that. And do an evaluation. What did you improve? How did you improve? And share that with your spouse and see what is her or his impression about that evaluation. When we're talking about planning, we have to realize that we can make it better, we can improve, understanding that our relationship may deteriorate and crumble without maintenance and hard work. We must work together a detailed plan of what must be done. We take conscious decisions, we challenge ourselves, we draw our goals and vision for our life and for our family. How nice it would be that any problem in our home could be fixed with the shaving of a mustache so easily in 15 seconds. It would be nice, right? That's the least of our problems. I didn't realize that. And it was a real problem. It's a trivial example of certain situation. But how nice it could be if we can, just with a touch, change what we're supposed to change. But we need a plan. And we need to punctualize what we need to change and what we need to improve and how are we going to improve and in which time are we going to improve, because we are going to the budget. To the budget. Now is the time for a serious investment. Financial investment, but I would like to say that particularly we need an emotional investment. We have to invest our will. We need to want and fight to become better, to make sure that we do not lose the preciousness and beauty of our spouse, of our homes. We need to show off our vows and covenant. We need to improve, or we will lose it. And what that happened is too late. Our emotional investment is essential in the improvement of our relationships. We had to be patient, we had to be tolerant, we had to be understanding, we had to remember every day what we were talking about, Jeremiah chapter 18. And then Elton was talking with us yesterday night about the time. The time we invest in our relationship is essential. All our plans and investment fit in the moments of time defining a schedule of improvement. You can do a schedule and improvement in a timely basis. To make it better, we need to spend time, small portions of time, distributed at key moments that produce the best result for our own good. There is a paragraph of Ellen G. White that I really love. It's in Last Day Events. We need not to worry about the later rain. Nobody say amen? Because sometimes we are too worried about the later rain. We need not to worry about the later rain. All we have to do is to keep the vessel clean and right side up and prepare for the reception of the heavenly rain and keep praying. She's talking in the context of the mission of the church, but this applies perfectly to our homes and to the improvement of our homes. Let the latter rain come into my vessel. Let the light of the glorious angel which unites the third angel shine upon me. Give me a part in the world. Let me sound the proclamation. Let me be a collaborator with Jesus Christ. Our main concern is to get our vessels clean and right side up. Clean and right side up. To be sure that nothing is an obstacle to what would like God to do in our lives. While in a house, we could work alone or do some improvement on our own. In relationship, we have to work together and engage everyone. Sometimes we have to put aside certain responsibilities for a while, even perhaps some of our own desires and dreams. Do not doubt it, it's worth it. Sometimes we need to put aside the priorities of our professional life. And let me tell you, if it's needed, and if the only way, we have to put aside the salary of the professional pastor and be the pastor of our homes. These are critical decisions. These are essential improvements. And we know, because we receive inspiration, that the ministry of our home is our first and most important mission and priority. It's more important to us to be the pastor of our home to be a pastor of a congregation or two congregations or three congregations. Let me finish with a story why this passage from Jeremiah was important for me. In 1977, as a layman, I got the privilege to be associate director of the youth ministry in my church, the youth society we call it. We had a wonderful director and leader. Her name was Blanca. Blanca was not only a good leader for her love and dedication, she was also very firm and strict, really strict. She didn't allow us to carry out programs that were already made. We can go, I bring a program from the university, it's really good. No. We had to study the Bible and start from scratch and do it by ourselves. One night, while studying, we faced it with this passage from Jeremiah 18, and we decided to visit an artisan potter to learn and develop our program. She made the arrangement, so when we arrived, the potter was sitting at the wheel. In our countries, that's usual. You just say, permiso, sorry, and you just enter. You can do that here. But you got the open doors, and you just clap, and the people enter in your home. And when we arrived, the potter was sitting at the wheel. After nearly an hour's interview, the potter was still kneading the same piece of clay. One of my friends, he was really impatient, asked, how long will he continue doing that? He's going to be like that until Christmas? Shh, don't be unrespectful. And then the father turned off the motor of the wheel, and I said, okay, he get mad. But he took us to a back room and opened the door, not completely, and there was a shelf from top to bottom and wall to wall with beautiful crafts of pottery. He told us that with these works of art, he had worked even more than with the piece of clay in his hand. Do you like it? He asked. Yes, it was beautiful. Amazing. And then he opened the door completely and ushered us to see what the wall behind of the doors had. And it was another shelves. These shelves were covered with the same artistically crafted pieces of pottery, except they were all ruined. And he said, "This I also worked with them a lot, but something got into the mud. And I didn't perceive it. A tiny piece of grass, a straw, an imperceptible pebble, and when they were baked, they ruined and shattered." When he said this, it was like the heavens opened. And we said, okay, we got the program. And we understood. We really understood. We need God to mold us as much as necessary so that when we go through painful trials and the fire of tribulation and the crisis of our marriage, no one or anything can destroy, break, or harm what he's doing. God, says Ellen G. White, will show up to the universe as his masterpieces, your life and my life, for his glory and honor. But we are still here. Meanwhile, let the potter make his perfect work and enjoy the improvement of his home. With your best attitude, with a strong and firm will, with all your energies, especially emotional energies, and work with a plan, a specific plan, minute to minute, day to day, week to week, year to year, to be sure that we can get better year to year until he comes. God bless you.